ॐ श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. We are in the middle of a very important discussion in the Taittiriya Bhashya. First is to establish the existence of Brahman. Not that Brahman's existence needs to be established, mind you, that we should not be under any kind of a illusion that Brahman's existence we are the one establishing. That's kind of quite impossible. Why? Because one is Brahman, so that which is already established before the mind that has the bright idea of establishing it is what? Already Brahman. But this is just vyavaharically speaking, colloquially speaking, we talk like this, that's all. So first we say that Brahma asti. Establishing Brahman means understanding that it is there, that it is existent. That it is existent is important to understand. Why is it important to understand? It is important to understand primarily because the otherwise being not is an object, it is immediately understood to be non-existent by a mind that is steeped in Atma Ajnanam, self-ignorance. So this is Swabhavika, meaning until one has the exposure of Vedanta, what happens? What I see is what I get. I see, I catch, I take, I enjoy. First I want to pursue that object, then I become a karta, and I catch the object, I become a bhokta, and then what? Then I cry because I could not fully enjoy the object, and then what? Then it flies away or dies away, whatever it is. Then I cry again and again. So then I become more of a bhokta. Then what? Then I strive to catch another thing, and then so the life keeps going on and on and on. Now, this is something that has to be interrupted by the Shruti, the teacher, by the Shruti unfolding through the mouth of the teacher. What? That there is proof. We don't need proof, but for the mind that is steeped in Atma Jnanam, some kind of proof it behooves. For it is appropriate to seek proof because one is not having Shraddha, not having enough faith, not having enough wherewithal, and not having enough of a tether in the teaching. So the teaching as it unfolds Brahman keeps on giving more and more reasons to understand that it is existent. And the final, the last reason that we saw is bhaya darshana bhaya hetu. Bhaya hetutvam, that's the final reason. We have already gone over those 7 reasons in the previous classes, so I'm not going to go do that again here. You can just, not the last class, but the class before that, the talk before that had it, so you can go look at it. So the last reason to understand, that's a better word I think than establish, to understand the existence of Brahman is that it is simultaneously a source of fear and a source of fearlessness. How can something be a source of fear and fearlessness? Well, because, like, for example, we take the snake, not rope snake here, Vyavaharika snake, an empirical snake you take, and it is a source of fear to many people. But for the Irula tribes of Kerala, in Kerala, there is a cobra catching tribe. And crate, another poisonous snake, crate, cobra, viper, all these poisonous snakes, they start playing with them as children, when they are barely able to walk or talk, but they are holding the snake and then crawling with the other hand. So this is how they are raised. And because why do they handle snakes? They handle snakes because they take the snake and express its poisonous glands to get the poison, and they use the poison to make some medicines, siddha medicines, and even to make the antidote for the snake venom. That is, thanks to the work of the Irula tribes, we have powerful antidotes for cobra bite and all these bites of difficult to survive snakes. If you are a victim of that, it's very, very difficult to survive. So therefore, then for the person of the Irula tribe, let's say they are also sitting next to the person, next to an average person without exposure to snakes, and then what will happen? So the snake passes by, the Irula person doesn't barely even look at it, or if they look at it, they are not worried about it because they know how to handle it. They know where to catch it. You can't just catch it by the tail because then it will come and bite. You can't just catch it by the head because then it will swirl the tail around your hand or wherever you're catching it, and then suck, tighten its thing, hold there so that you have to let go of the head, and then what? Then it will still bite because it has been traumatized. It will bite. So they will know how to catch it simultaneously by the head and the tail, so that it is rendered helpless. So therefore, the Irula person, if the Irula person, she or he sees a snake, they are like, okay, it's just, it's just one more day, not a big deal, nothing to write in the journal about, nothing to write in the blog. Today I encountered a cobra. OMG, what does it mean? Let me look up. Snake medicine, Native American snake totem, or what does it mean in my life? All that they are not bothered. They are like, okay, it's just like encountering a small pebble, nameless, formless, nameless pebble on the road. And but another person who doesn't have that knowledge of the snake will get terrified of the snake. So the snake here becomes both Bhaya Hetu and Abhaya Hetu. Bhaya Hetu for the one who does not know what this snake is all about, and Abhaya Hetu for the one who knows everything about the snake, how to handle it, how to not only handle it, but how to express its sac, poison sac, which is in the back of the cheek, which is near the throat. And so since they know all that, they know the anatomy of the snake, they know how to handle it, they know how to extract the poison from it, they know how to even take out the teeth. Sometimes, it's very unfortunate, but they remove the fangs of the snake and render them toothless to put them in snake parks and other such things. And so therefore they know the snake. Since they know the snake, they're not afraid of the snake. And then for the person who doesn't know how to handle the snake, doesn't know anything about the snake becomes Bhaya Hetu. So similarly, this is now the example. Now when we look at that which is exemplified by this example, what do we see? We see a very similar thing. We see the following. We see that if snake is equal to Brahman, then people who are Vidwans, means Brahmajnanis, people who know Brahman not as an object but as the truth of themselves, the ones who know Brahman, they are not afraid of Brahman. And then the Brahman becomes Abhaya Hetu, the cause of fearlessness. Why? Because I have aligned myself with the only thing that there is in the universe, and then there is no other thing to be afraid of. when we use the preposition of, that is a very big clue. There is dvaita there. Of means there is one more object. I am afraid of snakes. I am afraid of big cats, tiger, lion, etc. I am afraid of something or the other. That of, makes it, that preposition of is a very important key to understanding this dvaita bhava. Dvaitadhi bhayam bhavati. This dvaita bhava is because of what? Is because of this second thing, the presence of a second thing. Now Brahman is ekameva advitiyam. We have seen one and second less. So this second less Brahman, one and second less, this Brahman alone is, and this second less Brahman, when I understand to be myself, then there is nothing other than me. Whatever I see is me. Is whatever I want is already gained, because it is none other than me. And whatever I long for is non-separate from me. Whatever belongs to somebody else is also me, because that somebody else is also an extension of me. So then there is no want, because want and fear are connected. We have to understand that. The fear of not getting what I want, that becomes a source of fear. So here there are no wants, because everything is me, and so that is not a source of fear. And then this is what is that, Apraptasya prapanam yoga. Yoga is a technical term here, not asana and way of life, etc. So apraptasya prapanam, so that becomes a cause of fear. So when I don't get what I want to get, which is away from me, meaning what? Which is other than me. Other means again the second thing. So when I can't get what I want, then what happens? I am afraid. Fear comes, insecurity exacerbates within me. And then the second reason is, when I already have something and I'm worried that somebody will take it away. Who will take it away? Somebody other than me. Praptasya rakshanam. Kshemaha. So this yoga kshema, this is a very interesting connection. This yoga and kshema, both of them become the cause of fear. Why do they become the cause of fear? Because yoga means gaining what I don't have. And what I don't have, it's easy to gain. No, I have to interact with the world outside. Outside means other than me. Even this body is outside from this standpoint. So other than me, I have to interact with the world outside. And then what do I see? I see that I don't have the A, B, C, D, E, F, whatever these 5, 6 things I don't have. Therefore, my life is terrible. Therefore, I am crying all the time. So then, if I don't have it, it's easy enough to go get it. No, why? Because there is a clamoring. There is a clamoring because other people also want the same thing. And then what? They are brighter than me. They are lighter than me, lighter on their feet, meaning I can't run as fast. They are brighter than me. They are lighter than me. They are noisier than me, so the squeaky wheel gets the grease, so they make a lot of noise and get what they want. So the other people also striving for the same thing. The other people become the cause of fear. The object of desire becomes the cause of fear, because there is a fear that I will not get it. And then what happens? There is an increase in insecurity, which is again the cause of fear. Okay? And then what? Let's say with great difficulty I wrested it out of the hands of another and got it in my grubby hands. Now I have it, yay! Can I rest nicely? No. Why? Because now I have to protect. What do you want? You want this which belongs to me? Absolutely not. Stay away. Duram, duram. Stay far away. Don't come near me. This is mine, not yours. This can never be yours. Why? It is mine. But it was mine before you took it away from me. No, shut up. Now it is mine. Go away. Don't be around me, and just get lost. This is the idea. Get lost, and this is all mine, and so I I have to be protective of what I have. I have to be protective of what I have. Why? Because of the same reason. The people outside, the others, the forces of nature. Sometimes I'm afraid of the forces of nature. Why? Because they are other than me. Nature itself has a way of self-destructing things in itself. It destroys things. Wind destroys, water destroys, air element destroys, all these elements. Fire, of course, destroys. So like this, there is all these elements that are destructive, and so I'm afraid of losing what I have. I'm afraid of not gaining what I want. And these two fears themselves become become an impediment in knowing Brahman as myself, because the more I succumb to this fear, the more I protect this fear and keep putting ghee into the ahuti of this fear. I keep putting ahuti into this fear, into the yajna of this fear. Then what happens is that there is that alienation from myself and from the other, and so dvaitadhi bhayam bhavati, brihadaranyaka vakya. And here soon we will study udaram utaram antaram kurute athatasya bhayam bhavati. And this is how the fear gets ensconced in the heart and established. So Brahman becomes a hetu of fear. An unknown Brahman becomes a cause of fear. Why? Because I'm spinning in my wants and don't wants. I'm kept spinning in the cycle of my wants and don't wants. And since I'm spinning in my wants and don't wants, what happens? I have not understood Brahman. I have not made any effort to understand Brahman. Why? Because I'm busy. You ask anybody, what are you doing? I have so many things to do, places to go, people to see. Can't pursue Vedanta because why? All these objects of delight which I want, which I have, are what? Going to go away. So I have to get them back. I have to do something. This is a frenzied pursuit. And so Brahman for such people becomes what? Bhaya hetu, the cause of fear. Why does it become the cause of fear? Because I think of Brahman here is Bhagavan, Ishvara. I think of Ishvara as an impediment to my wants and don't wants. Why? Because Ishvara is not giving me what I want. Ishvara means what? My own karma phala, but am I ready to recognize that? No, I'm not ready to recognize that. I'm not ready to recognize it's my own karma phala. And even if I am, I think of Ishvara as the giver of karma phala, so the blame goes back to Ishvara. Ishvara becomes the cause of fear, because then I tell myself, if I'm really, really, really good, then all the goodies will come. Santa Claus is coming to town. You better be nice. You better not be naughty. Otherwise, what will happen? Karma phala of coal in the stocking will come. This is just a children's story, but still, nonetheless, it has some wisdom here. So karma phala, I have to always be mindful of what karma phala is there and what is happening, and so therefore I have to do the right thing all the time. Not because I want to do the right thing naturally, no, but my karma phala will get destroyed. I will get bad karma. Therefore, I don't cheat you because I don't want to get bad karma. This is like an average person's thinking. So Bhagavan becomes the cause of fear. Brahman as Bhagavan becomes the cause of fear, and that same Brahman, when it is understood as Satchidanandam Brahma, as the truth of myself, becomes the cause of what? Becomes the cause of Abhaya. So this is the section here, little bit involved section, but very nice arguments are given. Let us, so this much we have seen, and so further, and where are we? We are on page 285, somewhere in the middle. Yeah. So then here, Anatmye Asharire, we saw this. We saw the first paragraph. So, Anilayane Ashrayah. So, then in this Brahman, when one sees what kind of Brahman, this Brahman is qualified by many, many words. So, Adrishye, in that which is not an object, Drishyam Nama Drashtavyam Vikarah, changeless, in that changeless one which is not objectifiable. And then Darshanartham Kim Kartavyam, then we have to say Avikare, in this changeless one. Anatmye means that which doesn't have a form. We saw all this. Anirukte, Anirukte means that which cannot be categorically defined as either existent or non-existent. Anilayane, that which is not located in anything else. Na nilayanam, anilayanam. No adhara, anadharam. So, tasmad etasmin adrishye anatmye anirukte anilayane sarvakarya dharma vilakshane. So, that which is completely away, that Brahman which is completely away from all karya. Karya means effect. It is not an effect. It is not an effect means what? It is the cause. It is the cause, that is again an interim explanation. It is the cause, it is an interim explanation. It's not the final explanation, because the final explanation is what? It's neither the cause nor the effect. It's neither the cause nor the effect. If it were a cause, it would always be the cause. Then it would not be the effect. Then if it is only the cause and not the effect, then it would be not limitless. So that is the thing. So here he says that when that entity, this is what that sentence means, which is changeless, formless, and without any expression and without any location, this Brahman which is distinct from all the attributes of being a product, the product, when the person vindate means gains what? Pratishtham means abidance, absorption, immersion, meaning when the pratishtha, the establishing in this truth, means what? I know Brahman as myself. There is no separation between myself and Brahman. When that is fully understood, then what happens? Athaso bhayam gato bhavati. So, but before that, sarva karya vilakshane brahmani, then abhayam iti kriya visheshanam. So the word abhayam, abhayam is what is used adverbially. Kriya visheshana means adverb. It's used adverbially to modify the verb vindate, gains abhayam. Or you have to say so and so gains abhayam, or in the Shruti it says abhayam, or we have to change it to abhayam pratishtham vindate. See, two ways of looking at it. Abhayam vindate means the person gets abhayam, or the person gets pratishtha in abhayam. Pratishtha means abidance. So the abidance, the word abidance being feminine, so you have to say lingantaram parinamyate, it changes. So pratistham sthitim atmabhavam vindate. Sthiti means abidance, atmabhavam means as oneself, and so therefore what happens? Saha pratistham vindate. Atha tada saha tasmin नानात्वस्य भयहेतोः अविद्याकृतस्य अदर्शनात् अभयं गतो भवति. Very beautiful. Atha tada, now tada means then what happens? Atha, now, then after all this discussing, tasmin in that which is nanatvasya. Nanatvasya means the nanatvasya bhayahetoho. So then the nanatvasya bhayahetoho means since this aspirant, the spiritual aspirant, saha, she or he, does not succumb to the fear of division, does not see diversity as a cause of fear. Why? Because this diversity is the duality is due to ignorance. The one who buys into the duality is due to ignorance, and therefore this person does not see duality as the cause of fear and sees duality instead as Brahman, as just cause, effect, cause, and the effect being non-separate from the cause. Right there, the whole thing gets resolved. Sees oneself as Brahman alone, and then what becomes established in fearlessness. So abhayangataha bhavati. स्वरूप प्रतिष्ठः हि असौ यदा भवति तदा न अन्यत् पश्यति न अन्यत् शृणोति न अन्यद् विजानाति. So this is a very beautiful connection. So now he says Swarupa Pratishtha. Swarupa Pratishtha. Swarupa Pratishtha means the one who is established in oneself. When one becomes established in one's own nature, then one does not see anything other than oneself. Na anyat pashyati. Ananyah san na anyat pashyati. Ananyah means being non-separate from everything else, does not see anything as separate from herself, from himself. Na anyat shrinoti, does not hear anything. Any sound is nothing other than me. How we get to this we'll discuss, but we are just translating here. So na anyat shrinoti, na anyat pashyati, na anyat vijanati. This is a famous quote from the Chandogya Upanishad, 7th chapter. So there Narada tells Sanat Kumara that he is grieving and would like to get this instruction. And Narada tells him, you are grieving, you are subject to sorrow. Sorrow and fear are two sides of the same coin here. We can take it like that. You are subject to sorrow. Why? You are subject to sorrow primarily because you are not knowing Bhuma. Bhuman. What is this Bhuma? Bhuma, definition, he says, Yadalpam tan martyam tanna Bhuma. So, whatever is small is not Bhuma. Why? Because it is finite. Martyam, it is subject to death. It is subject to coming to an end. So, Yad alpam tan martyam tanna Bhuma. Bhumanam vijignyase. Then Narada says, I want to know this Bhuma. Tell me what is this Bhuma. You told me in a negative way, now tell me in a positive way what is this Bhuma. Yatra, again he continues with a negative definition. Yatra na anyat pashyati, na anyat shrinoti, na anyat vijanati, sa bhuma. Where the person does not see anything other than themselves, hear anything other than themselves, taste anything other than themselves, know anything other than themselves, that condition, it can't even be called a condition, that kind of a reality in which they live, not seeing anything other than themselves, that reality is what is called Bhuma. But how to do that? The moment you open your eyes in the morning and rub your eyes, even though the light has not fully come into the room, it gets late because of the winter months. The sunrise is late, but still you make out hazy objects in the room. And then what are they? They are the table where you work. Maybe you keep the computer there. And there is a bedside table also, perhaps with a clock, glass of water, your phone, whatever it is, watch. You have kept it there. And then there is, then you can make out, oh, here is one window, here is one window. Slowly the morning light is coming. But not yet. But see, already you have hardly, barely opened your eyes. You see duality immediately. And then how do you say, how do you say this? How do you say na anyat pashyati, na anyat shrinoti? How do you say that you don't see anything else? Because it's a very mystifying statement. Not really, because if you study Vedanta, it will be shown, it is already seen that whatever you see is what? Brahman. Wherever you go is Brahman. So that's why the first step is to Bhagavanize, Ishwaraize the universe. Yatra yatra mano yati, tatra tatra tavapada pankajam. Wherever the mind goes, what is that? There itself are your lotus feet. Even so, there is no bad thought, there is no good thought, there is only thought. There is no good thought, there is only God thought. In the sense that whatever you think of is God. There is nothing other than God. Even if you think of something really odd, what is it? God. That's what it is. Everything is a God thought because everything is God. God is non-separate from, is from the Jagat. The Jagat is non-separate from God. So whatever is in the Jagat is non-separate from God. So if I think of dog, that's also God. That's also non-separate from God. Everything is God. That is why in Pujya Swamiji's famous words, we don't say that there is one God. We don't say that there are many gods. We say what? There is only God. This only God has to be understood properly. That means what? Whatever I see is just Bhagavan. It's all Bhagavan, 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 Bhagavan. This is step one. This step cannot be bypassed. And without this, you cannot get to step number 2, which is what? To understand this Bhagavan as myself. How do I do that? Through studying Vedanta. To understand this Bhagavan as myself. And then when I understand this Bhagavan as myself, everything is me. Everything is non-separate from me. And this is wonderful because all the complaints go. Where they go, we don't ask. They just go. They just vaporize. All the complaints vaporize. Complaints about other people. This one is not letting me get ahead. That one is taking my credit. This one is making me feel victimized. This one is making me feel bad about myself. That one is an idiot. All gone. Complaints about the other people go. Complaints about the Jagat go. It is too hot, too hot, too hot. Too cold, too cold, too cold. All of them go. They just drop. And then complaints about Ishvara also goes. Ishvara, God, you favor the other person. See, they just keep having a wonderful, lucky life full of money and full of parties and full of wonderful things. And I have to just keep striving for each and every small thing. And what will Bhagavan say if you make this complaint? Bhagavan will say, Murkha, oh you deluded one. Don't you see that I am giving you the opportunity to come to the realization that all this is not going to fill you? I am giving you disappointment so that you understand that the only way to come out of this disappointment is to know myself. If I gave you all the things that the other people have, or the lifestyles of the rich and the famous, then what? You'll be spending a few more janmas in this ennui, in this boredom of this jiva dumb, which is indeed dumb. So therefore, make the correct choice. See that you're not getting challenges. Yes, life is challenging, but see each challenge as an opportunity to grow. How can I see each challenge as an opportunity to grow? I can see each challenge as an opportunity to grow when I see each challenge as a manifestation of Bhagavan in my life. More difficulty means more the presence of Bhagavan in my life. It takes a lot of emotional maturity to see this. And that's why one spends a lot of time in this nascent baby teeth cutting stage of Vedanta, where one has to really internalize that all this is Ishvara. Then after that, poof, all this is Ishvara, this Isha avasyam idam sarvam, that sentence also resolves into Ahameva Ishvara. I am this Ishvara. This is how this is how the understanding takes place. And so that this is the true nature. When one gets established in the true nature, then the person does not see anything other than oneself, does not hear anything other than oneself. Every sound I hear is what you have to do. First, in the beginning, you have to do it consciously, and then it becomes a nididhyasana. So consciously you say, what is the source of sound? Brahman. The answer to everything is Brahman. And then that Brahman, which is free of all sound, becomes the source of all sounds. And then like this, we grow, and then does not hear anything other than oneself, does not know anything other than oneself. And then Adi Shankara says something very interesting. Where is the Bhashya now? Here it is. So Adi Shankara says that na anyat pashyati, na anyat vijanati iti. That's the quote. That when you say iti, the quote of the Chandogya Upanishad is complete. Anyasya hi anyatah bhayam bhavati, na atmanah eva atmanah. So, anyasya hi anyatah bhayam bhavati means one gets scared of something else. Someone, anyaha, son, being separate from something, one gets afraid of something else. But Adi Shankara points out it is not logical that the Atma should be afraid of the Atma. Why? It is the Atma. How can you be afraid of your own self? So, therefore, the self which is known, the known Atma is the source of fearlessness for oneself. Why? Because in spite of the existence of the cause of fear, we see in the world there are saintly people. And he is going to point that out here. Let us read. Swarupa Pratishthahi. We read that. Sarvatohi nirbhayaha brahmanaha drishyance satsu bhayahetushu. So we see brahmanaha here means people established in Brahman. Everywhere we see people established in Brahman, and what are they doing? They are living very happily, without any fear. These Brahmajnanis, they may be in the forests, they may be in the mansions, they may be anywhere. But then we see this is proof, real life proof in the world, that in spite of the existence of various causes of fear, old age is a cause of fear, death of course is a cause of fear, and then what else? Sickness is a cause of fear. So all that is there. But then, despite the presence of the cause of fear, these saintly people are found who are indeed free of fear from all quarters. This is all quarters. Why? Because they are one with Brahman, or they are soon to become one with Brahman. Because why are they soon to become one with Brahman? They are in the process of knowing the Atma. Either they know the Atma, these saintly people, or they are in the process of gaining Atma Jnanam, and then therefore they feel protected. So we saw this in the Manomaya Kosha, what is that called? We saw that sentence in the Manomaya Kosha, Yato Vacho Nivartante, that poem, that verse gets repeated twice. Yato Vacho Nivartante Aprapya Manasasaha Anandam Brahmano Vidvan Na Bibheti Kadachaneti. This is the first step. Anandam Brahmana Vidvan. So Brahmana Vidvan. So this Vidvan of Brahman, the knower of Brahman, is protected by Ishvara. Why? Because has Ishvara the whole universe. That's why he is protected, because there is the kadachana na bibheti. Because of this sense of protection, there is fearlessness. A relative fearlessness, which then transforms into an absolute fearlessness with the internalization of this knowledge. With the internalization of this knowledge, there is absolute fearlessness, and right now it is what? Relative fearlessness. And so with this, the presence of even this relative fearlessness would not be there if Brahman, as Ishvara, the protector from all fear, was not there. This is the idea. So therefore, when we notice the fearlessness, if we understand that Brahman exists, that is how, because there are fearless people in this world who are just so Ishvara centric. They have made Ishvara the center of their lives. So they have total fearlessness in the Vyavaharika level, in the relative levels speaking. They are not afraid of anybody else. They say it's all Bhagavan, let anything happen, whatever is to happen. This is what they say. Sarvato hi nirbhayaha brahmanaha drishyante. And then taccha ayuktam sati bhayatrane brahmani. Ayuktam sati means this would have been inappropriate if Bhagavan were not the cause of fearlessness. Tasmat tesham abhaya darshanad asti tad abhaya karanam brahma iti. Therefore, Brahman should be said to be existent. Why? Because of the fearlessness seen in the saintly people around us. And then further, kada asau abhayam gato bhavati sadhakaha. Sadhakaha means the spiritual aspirant. When does the spiritual aspirant become free of fear? Kada means when. Then kada abhayam gato bhavati. When does the person go past the fearfulness? Yada na anyat pashyati atmani cha antaram bhedam na kurute tada abhayam gato bhavati iti abhiprayah. So when does the person get established in fearlessness? Then when the person does not see anything other than themselves. So this is the idea. When the person does not perceive anything else and does not create any antaram, two conditions are pointed out. Seeing the self as everything, condition number 1, and then condition number 2. What is the condition number 2? The condition number 2 is when the person does not perceive anything else and does not create any difference. Udaram antaram na kurute. Then the person gets established in fearlessness. Now that is one part of the picture. There is another part also. And then what is that? On the contrary. Yada punaha, on the contrary, what happens? Avidya avasthayam hi yasmad eshaha avidvan avidyaya pratyupasthapitam vastu taimirika dvitiya chandravat pashyati. Atmani cha etasmin brahmani ut api aram alpamati antaram chidram bhedam bheda darshanam kurute. So now on the contrary, on the flip side, what happens on the flip side? This is very beautiful. Yada punaha, then again, on the contrary, what happens? Avidya avasthayam. In the condition of ignorance, in the state of ignorance, eshaha, this person, who? The ignorant person. Then what does the ignorance person see? Sees the self as through the apertures, the chakshu of avidya. Avidyaya pratyupasthapitam vastu. So sees the sees the self as something presented by avidya. Sees the self also as a product of avidya. Sees the self also as finite, having marana dharma, having the condition of death, disease, all these things. Janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi, dukkha and dosha. The self is full of that. Then the one who is convinced. Why are they convinced? Avidya avasthayam. Because they are ignorant of Brahman. So what does that happen? Avidyaya pratyupasthapitam vastu pashyati. So vastu pashyati. First let us take that. The person sees. What does the person sees? Sees things. Okay, I also see. We can play a game. What is that game with the children play? I spy. I spy with my little eyes a cupboard. I spy with my little eyes windows. I spy with my little eyes doors. You can keep seeing this. And then we count how many objects we have spied in the room. So doors, windows, and then what else? Table, chair, computer, cupboard, all these things are there in the room. And so when I start counting these in the room, that is because this is a very beautiful way Adi Shankara points this out. He says that is because these vastus have been established by avidya. How can the vastu be established by avidya? I thought it was already there. No. Avidya establishes the vastu. Avidya names the vastu. That's why we have Atma. No, the Atma should be indeclinable really. But Atma is a declinable word in the Sanskrit grammar. Atma, Atmanau, Atmanaha. Atmanam, Atmanau, Atmanaha. So the Atma is what? Has got dual, plural, etc. You see how the avidya of the grammarians has established this duality. The whole duality is just Vakarambhanam. This Taittiriya Upanishad Bhashya borrows heavily from the Chandogya. Vachalambanam, Vakarambhanam, Vikaro, Namadheyam. Shvetaketu's father teaches him like that. So this is all dependent on speech. Because the pot is incapable of saying, I am pot. The pot is also incapable of saying the truth of me is clay. Tattvamasi asmi. I am that clay which I pine to be one with one day. It cannot say that. It does not say that. It is part of a dependent reality which depends on the only source of sentience, which is myself alone, which is existent and which is free of all limitations. This Satchidananda self, which is me, alone has given rise to this whole universe. Mayye vodeti chidvyomni jagad gandharva pattanam athoham nakatham brahma sarvajnam sarvakaranam. The Advaita Makaranda says so. Mayi eva udeti chidvyomni. In this, Mayi chidvyomni udeti. In this space of consciousness, metaphorical, okay? In this space of vast consciousness which I am, udeti. In this space alone is born what? The city. The city like a celestial city spied in the clouds. If you don't have much to do and you're sitting in the window area of the window of the airplane, you're sitting by the window, what do you see? Oh, that one looks like Ganesha. Okay, Ganesha has now been established. By who? You. That one looks like Ganesha. No, I didn't establish it. It really looks like Ganesha. You ask somebody else, you ask your seatmate, they will just say it looks like a hose pipe. It does not look like Ganesha at all because they have no idea what Ganesha is. And so therefore, you say this is Ganesha, and then once you have seen Ganesha, then you see some people doing puja to that Ganesha. They are all made of what? Clouds. So cloud Ganesha and cloud ladies doing puja to Ganesha, men also, why just ladies? Cloud people performing, and men, women and children performing puja to Ganesha, and then what? Cloud aarti plate, cloud conch shell, somebody is blowing a cloud conch shell, cloud prasada. Everything literally is on the cloud. Jagat Gandharva Pattanam. So too this whole Jagat is just like that cloud city. It's all coming from and sustained by water vapor. Goes back to water vapor, which we call cloud. It's literally in the cloud. The whole city is literally in the cloud, because the figurative cloud is something else, where you save your photographs and all that. But we are talking of the literal cloud here. And so cloud, Cloud Jagat, cloud relatives, cloud water, cloud Ganesha, cloud people going to the market is all. And when you take it seriously, why do you take it seriously? Because of the cloudy vision. Because of the cloudy vision of division. And here this is exactly what Adi Shankara says, Taimirika Dvitiya Darshanavat. Taimirika means like the person who when you see different things, then because all these differences have been established by ignorance, self-ignorance, like even the cataract afflicted person, like the vision of the cataract afflicted person. What does the cataract afflicted person see? Dvitiya Chandra. Two moons in the place of one, because something happens to the lens. The lens is, makes the images sometimes cut in half. So when you are seeing the moon and it is split, you see two moons. So, like the person whose vision is afflicted by cataracts, what do they see? They see two in place of one. That's the idea. So, you see two moons. Maybe Jupiter, which has 4 moons, if you saw 2 moons, no problem. And other planets which have 6, 7 moons, you saw 1 or 2 or 3, doesn't matter. But the earth has what? Only one visible moon, and instead if you say, oh no, today there are 2 moons, that means the cataract has progressed. It doesn't mean that there are 2 moons. So the vision is what? Only one moon, Eka Chandra, but then what do I make of it? Dvitiya Chandravat, like the second, I keep seeing the second moon as real. This is what Adi Shankara says, Dvitiya Chandravat. Let's see what else he says here. Taimirika Dvaita Darshanam. Then Tasmat Katasau Yada Punaha. Yeah. Then Taimirika Dvitiya Chandravat Pashyati. Atmani cha etasmin brahmani ut api aram alpam antaram chidram bhedam bheda darshanam kurute. So we saw those 2 conditions earlier. One is what? One is, one is being established in this Brahman and then not perceiving anything else. This is what we saw. When you don't perceive anything else and do not create any difference, then the fearlessness is attained, knowing the unchanging Brahman. And so here, this part is now fleshed out. When she or he perceives, ut aram means even the slightest bit, like the difference is as slight as the blade of a sword. Uttaram antaram means difference. Kurute. Then what? That antaram, that difference becomes the cause of fear. Even the slightest, seeing the slightest difference, bhayam bhavati, the fear crops up for this jiva who perceives difference. So why? The self is alone the cause of fear to the person who is ignorant. And this Upanishad is very clear about that. But then, let's see here. 1 second. Lost the bhashya again. Yeah, tasmat tesham bhayadarshana asti. So then, I'm in the next line. Bheda darshinaha atmanaha bhayam bhavati. So, even if they make the slightest difference, then bhaya karanam avidushaha. Avidushaha means the person who doesn't know. Vidushaha manmanasya. The one who thinks I am a scholar, maybe a Vedic scholar, but not a Vedantin. And so therefore, this person who is succumbing to the fear, why not learned in Vedanta? Maybe learned in other branches of knowledge, but Vedanta is what you need to learn to overcome fear. Tatra etad aha tad brahma tu bhaye tad brahma tu evam bhayam veda darshinaha vidushaha ishvaraha anyaha mattaha ahamapi samsari ityevam vidushaha veda drishtam ishvarakhyam tadeva brahma अल्पमपि अंतरम कुर्वतः भयं भवति एकत्वेन अमन्वानस्य. A little bit of an involved sentence. Let us look at it carefully. So then, tu, whereas Tadeva Brahma Bhayam is Bhayam, the same Brahman which was the cause of non-bhaya, no fear for the vidushaha, for the people of knowledge, the one who perceives that difference, that very Brahman, when it is perceived through the vision of duality, a vision of division, and then that vision will be what? A vision of division. Which division is being pointed out? Not between myself and the pot. That is not the division being addressed here. The pot comes from where? God. So then the division between myself and Ishvara. Then that Brahman becomes a source of terror. To what? Vidushaha. And Vidushaha means the person of apparent learning. Meaning they might have studied the first portion of the Veda, but they are not completely understanding the truth of the self. So the one who perceives this difference, that Brahman, when perceived through a sense of duality and given the epithet God, Ishvara, Bhagavan, then that Bhagavan becomes a source of terror for the so-called learned person who says, God is different from me. I am a samsari, different, very, very sorry. I am a samsari by God, created by God, different from God. And so the one who creates the slightest difference, then it becomes a terror. Amanvanasya means for the one who does not view Brahman as a source of non-duality. So that therefore the person who doesn't understand the reality of the self, that is unvariegated, is what? Is not enlightened, even though they might be learned. This is very important. This is not Adi Shankara saying this. This is Upanishad herself saying that. There is a difference between learning and then understanding the truth of oneself. And so he says, Yada punah tadeta deha aha tad brahmatu evam bhaya bheda darshinaha vidushaha ishvaraha anyaha mattaha aham anyaha aham samsari ityevam vidushaha bheda drishtam ishvarakhyam tadeva brahma अल्पमपि अंतरम कुर्वतः भयं भवति एकत्वेन अमन्वानस्य तस्माद् विद्वानपि avidvaneva asau. Even though the person may be scholarly, but as good as ignorant. When you know the whole world but do not know the matter that is closest to you, which is your own self, you are as good as avidvan. Yaha ayam ekam abhinnam atmatattvam na pashyati. The one who does not see this undifferentiated self as the truth of oneself. Uchcheda hetu darshanadhi uchcheda abhimatasya bhayam bhavati. Uchcheda darshanat means a terror. Anybody who considers oneself, is subject to terror, subject to destruction, etc. Then when that person sees a source of destruction, immediately the terror comes. Uchcheda hetu means I am going to be decimated. This fear that I am, uchcheda means decimation. I am going to be completely flattened. And that is the source of fear. Anybody who thinks oneself to be succumbing to this fear, what happens? Definitely succumbs to the fear. Why? Because the person does not know Brahman. That is the idea. And then that's why Adi Shankara says the whole world has this sickness. The whole world has this sickness, he says. He's going to say that somewhere here. Yaha ayam ekam abhinnam atmatattvam na pashyati uchcheda hetu darshanadhi uchchedyam abhimatasya bhayam bhavati. Uchchedyam means I am subject to destruction. And then the person becomes afraid. Anuchedya hi uchcheda hetuhu. So uchcheda hetuhu means what? The cause of destruction is what? Itself indestructible, and you are that cause. You are that cause. Tatra asati uchcheda hetau anuchchedena tad darshana karyam bhayam yuktam. So then, now, if there is no cause of destruction, no cause of fear, and nothing destructible, seen from the perception of a destroyer which is not there, then what happens? There is no fear. The whole world, of course, is not understanding this. But when you perceive the fear in the world, it follows that there must be some terrifying thing by nature, an indestructible agent of destruction, because of which the world shudders and then acts according to certain laws. Acts according to certain laws means what? That it just falls into place. The laws themselves fall into place, because uchchedya means that which is the source of destruction. That which is source of destruction, which is subject to destruction, cannot be there without the help of something that can destroy. And if I see God as the destroyer, then all the pains and fears and sorrows come back, because this is the interim or the wrong understanding of Ishvara. And to understand Ishvara from the standpoint of that which is the cause of fear, a verse is going to be cited. We will look at that next time. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you very much.